What we're going to do. Okay, guys. So what we have here is the Casio FX emulator. Now, first thing we're going to do is start off with the A's here. So we're doing part 1. 5A, take away 1A. So it's 5, take away 1, which is just going to be 4A. Then you have minus 4B plus 5B. So you can do minus 4 plus 5 if you want. And that should give you plus 1. So that means plus 1B. And then finally minus 3 and then followed by a minus 6. You're not multiplying, you're just adding them together in a way. So that gets you minus 9. So 4A plus 1B minus 9 is the answer to the first part. Now the answer for part 2 is you look at your x squared. You have 1x squared and 4x squared. So 1 plus 4 is 5x squared. You have minus 2x minus 3x. So minus 2 minus 3 should give you minus 5. And then finally you have minus 10 plus 4. And minus 10 plus 4 should give you minus 6, but you got to find out using your calculator, obviously. Minus 6. So there's your answer to part 1. Okay. Question 2. Remove the brackets and simplify. 2x times x, 2x times 5, minus 3 times x, minus 3 times 5. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 5 is 10x. Minus 3 times x is minus 3x. And minus 3 times plus 5 is minus 15. There's 3 different terms here. There's x squared, there's x's and the regular numbers. So 2x squared stays the same. 10x take away 3x is 7x. And that's minus 15. Okay. Now the answer for part 1, which I will highlight in yellow. This answer here is actually the same as this part here in part 2. So in part 2 what you can do is, sorry guys, in part 2 what we can do is we can do 2 times the starting off part, because there's nothing in between the 2 and the brackets. That means multiply, so you're going to get 6x squared minus 4x plus 8. Minus the answer of part 1, because it's minus, see the minus there? It's minus the answer of part 1. So we're going to have to multiply in by minus. Make sure everything's okay. So we're going to get 6x squared minus 4x plus 8. Then multiply in the minus. So you're going to get minus 2x squared minus 7x plus 15. Then you're going to get 6x squared, take away 2x squared is 4x squared, minus 4x minus 7, so minus 4 minus 7 in the calculator. Equals minus 11x, and then 8 plus 15 is going to be 23. You check out 8 plus 15 in the calculator, and that's your answer. Okay. Next question, question 3. Solve this. Well, multiply it out first. Solve questions always end with x equals something. So it's going to be 2x plus 8 equals 6 times 2x, which is 12x. 6 times 3 is 18. Move everything to the left. So move x's to the left, so it's 2x. The 12x is on the right. Move it to the left, it becomes minus 12x. The 8 is on the left, but move it to the right, it becomes minus 8. 2 take away 12 is minus 10x, and that equals minus 8 plus 18. Put that in your calculator, you get plus 10. Multiply both sides by minus, so you get you turn that into a positive and this one into a minus, and then finally divide minus 10 divided by 10. It's multiplication of 10 on the left, which makes it division of 10 when it goes on the right, and then minus 10 divided by 10 is minus 1. So x equals minus 1. Okay, where's question 4? Oh, there it is. Now question 4 is an input question. So what we're going to do is we're going to input the values and see what it comes out as. So leave x blank, so it's 2 times blank squared minus 3 times blank squared. Install x equals 3 and install y equals 2. Then you can go straight to the calculator. 2 times 3 squared is 18. minus 3 times 2 squared minus 3 times 2 squared should be minus 12. So minus 12, 18 minus 12 is plus 6. Okay. Question 5. Solve this equation. Now, you would have done this in the past. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to find a common denominator. Count up in fours. 4, 8, 12, 16. Count up in twos. 2, 4. Count up in threes. 3, 6, 9, 12. And you'll find that a common number in all the, when you keep counting up, the common number will be 12. So we're going to turn them into 12ths. To turn 3 into 12, multiply the bottom by 4, and that means we need to multiply the top by 4. Then on this one, we multiply the bottom by 3. This must means we need to multiply the top by 3. And then over the other side, we're going to multiply the bottom by 6. This must mean we multiply the top by 6 as well. So let's multiply this out. So we have 8x take away 4 over 12, and 3 times x is 3x over 12, and then 3 times 6 is 18 over 12. Now what we're going to notice here is that there's 12s on the bottom. It's a solved question and they all have the same denominator. This means that we can ignore the denominator now. Okay, so the denominator doesn't really matter. Okay, now on the left hand side we have 8x plus 3x, which is 11x, and then we have take away 4 equals 18. Bring the 4 over the other side and we get 11x equals 18 plus 4. 11x equals 22. And x equals 22 divided by 11. X equals 2. Alrighty. Question 6. Now guys, a bit of a hint here. Question 6 in your summer test is also going to be a simultaneous equation. So get this. You have 50 heads. Let x be the amount of hens, y be the amount of cows. The amount of hens plus the amount of cows has to equal 50. We're assuming that every chicken and every cow only has one head. Okay, and no arguments otherwise. Now leg-wise, every chicken will have 2 legs, plus every cow should have 4 legs. 2 multiplied by the amount of chickens gives you how many chicken legs you have. 4 multiplied by the number of cows gives you how many cows legs you have, and that has to equal 180. So we get 2x plus 4y equals 180. Now what we're going to do first is we're going to get rid of some of the x values first. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get rid of let's multiply the top equation by minus 2. Because of minus 2x, we'll get rid of a plus 2x. Multiply both sides of equation a by minus 2. So minus 2 times x is minus 2x, minus 2 times y is minus 2y, and minus 2 times 50 is minus 100. And then you also have 2x plus 4y equals 180 underneath. Add downwards, like you guys know how to do. 4y take away 2y is 2y. 180 take away 100 is 80. And 2y equals 80. This means y must equal 40. Now you already know from the start that x plus y equals 50. So if y is 40, x plus 40 equals 50. This implies that x must equal 10, because 50, bring the 40 over the other side, 50 take away 40 is 10. Okay, question 7. Make b the subject of this formula. So the whole idea is that when you're done with this question, you'll have a b on its own on the left. First thing we're going to do is move the ax over the other side. So we're going to have by equals c minus ax. To get the b on its own, it's being multiplied by y. So if y is multiplication on the left, it will be division on the right. C minus ax over y. Okay, and that's your answer. Question 8. Make a the subject of the formula. So this time we're looking to get a on its own. The first thing I'd recommend is a common denominator when you're doing this question. So multiply the right by 3 and multiply the left by 2. And this will result in both sides having a common denominator of 6. So what you're going to get here is 2a plus 2b over 6 equals 3c over 6. The 6's can cancel because they're the common denominator, and it's an equals question or a solved question where we're going to end up with a on its own by the end of the question. Now what's stopping the a being on its own is first of all the 2b, so 2a equals 3c minus 2b. Next we're going to get rid of the multiplication last. Multiplication of a on the left is division of a on the right, and this means we've successfully got a on its own, which it means the question is done. Alright, we have a question 9 somewhere. Let me find it. Oh, there it is, question 9. Now, what you're going to need to know for this test is Pythagoras' theorem. Pythagoras' theorem states that the longest side of a triangle, if this is C, this is A, and this is B, a right angle triangle only, that C squared will have to equal A squared plus B squared. In this triangle, the longest side is 26, so it's 26 squared equals x squared plus 10 squared. 26 squared in the calculator is 676, and that has to equal x squared plus 100. Next thing we got to do is get the x squared on its own, so x squared, move the 100 over the other side, so you get 676, take away 100. And now we have 576 equals x squared. It could be also written as x squared equals 576. Now, what number, when multiplied by itself, gives you 576? This is where you use the square root sign. Root 576 is 24. So the answer will be 24. It has to be shorter than 26 because 26 is the longest side. Okay. Now question 10, we're going to do Pythagoras' theorem again. We're going to do c squared equals a squared plus b squared. In this case, the x is the longest side, so it's going to be x squared equals 13 squared plus 84 squared. X squared equals, now we can put 13 squared plus 84 squared into the calculator. Now the answer should be bigger than 84 because it's the longest side in the triangle. So 7225. We're going to square root that. Maybe 85, yep. So x equals the square root of 7225. X equals 85. Okay, so that's Pythagoras' theorem done twice. Now lads, in your summer exam, Pythagoras' theorem will be appearing pretty much in the exact same spot. First of the trigonometry questions will be Pythagoras' theorem, alright? So the first triangles you see, they're going to be Pythagoras' theorem as well. Now, I'm giving you a big hint on the test as well. In this section, I'm going to write down this pink formula is going to be on your test, okay? And it's going to tell you what to do with sine B, cos B, and tan B, all right? It's very easy. So imagine this scenario: the hypotenuse is 10, the opposite is 8, and the adjacent is 6. And we're talking about angle A. Sine would be opposite divided by hypotenuse, which would be 8 over 10, which would be 4 over 5. Cos would be adjacent, which is 6 over 10, which would be 3 over 5. And tan would be opposite side, which is 8, divided by adjacent side, which is 6, 8 over 6, which is 4 over 3. So, what we have in this case is we're using angle B, first of all. And we can see that B is, the hypotenuse is root 13. The opposite is 3, and the adjacent is A. But we're first going to have to start off with Pythagoras' theorem to find out what is the side A. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. The longest side is root 13, so it's root 13 squared. And then we have A squared, which is the adjacent squared, plus B squared, which is 3 squared. Now root 13 squared, if you put it in your calculator, exactly as I have it written, with the square on the outside, not the inside, if you can, and you get 13. 13 equals a squared plus 9. Move the 9 to the left, so we get a squared equals 13, take away 9. 4 equals a squared, square root both sides, and you get a squared equals 4, square root both sides, a equals square root of 4, a equals 2. Now we know that a equals 2. Now, using your formula at the top, what is sine? Sine B is opposite divided by hypotenuse, which is going to be 3 over root 13. Cos B is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is going to be 2 divided by root 13. And finally, tan B is going to be opposite over adjacent, which is 3 over 2. See the way we're talking about this angle here? We're talking about angle B. That's why the 3 is the opposite. Okay? That's question 11 done. Question 12. Now guys, with question 12, what you want to figure out is the width of the river. Okay? You can't use Pythagoras' theorem because you only know one length, you don't know two lengths. Okay? If you knew the second length, let's say I said that was 35, if I knew two lengths, I could do Pythagoras' theorem, but I can't do it here. Okay? Now it's a right angle triangle, which means I'm allowed to use SOHCAHTOA. Now, using the angle of 38 degrees, I would consider W to be the opposite. This would make 25 the adjacent. Now I've got to figure out a function where I use the opposite and the adjacent. What function would that be? Oh, there it is there. It's tan, because I need to use the opposite and adjacent. Okay, so it's going to be tan 38 degrees, or TOA, equals opposite, which is W, divided by 25. Now the divided by 25 on the right equals multiplication of 25 on the left. So 25 tan 38 equals W. Put that into the calculator. And you get 19.53. Correct to nearest meter, it'll be 20 meters. Okay, and that will also be a question in your summer exam, something similar to that. Okay. Now, you have to, it won't always be tan. Like, it's only tan because I want the opposite and I already know the adjacent. If I, for example, knew the hypotenuse instead of the adjacent, I'd have to use sine because I'd be wanting to find the opposite using the hypotenuse. So in that case, I'd have to use sine because sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so remember, if it changes depending on which side you know. Okay, question 13 and 14. Guess what they're about? They're using the sine rule. Sine rule is when we have when sine rule is used mainly on non-right angle triangles. So in these triangles, I can't use Pythagoras' theorem or SOHCAHTOA. So there's two types of questions, all right? And you're going to be given one of each on the test. The first type of question is a length question. See the way we want to know the length? Okay, so you pick a length. Let's say you pick small a. Then you have to be using large A, the angle. If you pick C, you need to be using large C as the angle. So let me explain what I mean there. If you pick X, you have to use sine 50 underneath it. And if you pick, if you have to pick the 12, because 12 is the only other side you know. And if you pick the 12, you have to pick sin 30. Now, the whole goal of the question is to get the X on its own. So, to get X on its own, we need to, it's division of sine 50 on the left. This would make it multiplication of sine 50 on the right. Okay? That's sine 30 and that's sine 50 on top. So what you're going to do is 12 sine 50 divided by sine 30. And what you should get here is 18.385 or 18.39. Okay with you guys? Alrighty. Next question, which is question 14, is an angle question. This type of question we need to do is an angle question. So once again, we write down the sine rule. A over sine A equals B over sine B. Now in this question we're looking to find angle A. So we keep angle A where it is. Now what's looking at the angle A is 15. What's looking at the 10? Well, looking at the 10 is 30 degrees. So it's 10 over sine 30. The goal of the question is to first of all get sine A on its own. And after you get sine A on its own, you then get A on its own using the sine inverse function. Okay, I'll explain a bit more about that in a minute. So sine A is division on the left, which will make it multiplication on the right. So we're going to end up with 10 sine A. Sine 30 is division on the right, which will make it multiplication on the left. Now, 10 is multiplication on the right, and when we move it to the left to get the sine A on its own, it will be division. Now what we can do here is we can say 15 sine 30 over 10. Let's find out what that is. 15 sine 30 all over 10, 3/4, okay? So sine A equals 3/4. This brings you up here. To separate sine and A, we use a button called sine inverse. You press the shift button and see the sine inverse. This will tell you what angle results in a opposite of 3 and a hypotenuse of 4. What type of angle would make that? And it's a 48.6 degrees or 49 degrees. So A equals sine inverse 3/4, A equals 49 degrees to the nearest degree. Okay. The next question and the last two questions we're going to do on your test are going to be the cosine rule questions, okay? And the cosine rule questions are slightly different. So we have this rule called the cosine rule, and it'll be for the last two questions on your test. And what you're going to have to find out first and foremost is there's going to be a length question, and sometimes there'll be an angle question. The first one's a length question. So we have a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos A. Now the thing to remember about the cosine rule is just pick whichever side you want to find, and then make sure you use the angle opposite it in the other position. So if I want to find out what b is, I have to use 84 in the other position. So it's going to be b squared equals something something cos 84. See the way the 84 was picked because I picked b squared. Now these two sides can be interchangeable. Pick a side, 15 squared. Somebody else could have said 16 squared. Okay? C squared is 16 squared, then it's minus 2 times 15 times 16 cos 84. Now, with length questions, they're quite easy. All you need to do is throw them into the calculator, so you're going to get 15 squared plus 16 squared minus 2 times 15 times 16 cos 84. 430.83. Square root it to find out what the answer is. Square root your answer, or square root 430.83, and you get 20.76. To the nearest whole number, 21. So B equals 21. So okay, so that's our question 15. You use the cosine rule because I have the cosine rule written above it. Okay, question 16. Find the measure of the angle marked with the letter B. This is an angle question, so once again we're going to use the cosine rule. Now, once you pick the angle, then you've automatically picked the length that's on its own on the left side. So this one picks this one. So if I pick B, I automatically pick 7 because 7 is the side that looks at it. So 7 squared equals b squared plus c squared, or the other two sides squared, multiplied by 2 times one side multiplied by the other side, cos b. The other two sides are 9 and 10. So I'll just put them in these positions here. Now, unlike other questions, this one requires you to get cos b and then b on its own. So I'm putting a protective box around this, and you'll see why in a few minutes. In the angle questions, you don't go near that box to the very end. So 7 squared is 49, 9 squared is 81, 10 squared is 100, minus 2 times 9 times 10 is 180 cos b. So I multiplied this out using minus 2 times 9 times 10. So minus 180. Okay, so it's going to be, now this 49, bring the 81 and the 100 to the left. So they were on the right hand side, now they're on the left hand side, and that will equal 180 cos b. Now put this in. So you get 49, take away 81, take away 100, and it's minus 132 equals minus 180 cos b. Multiply both sides by negative. 132 equals 180 cos b. Now you want to get cos b on its own. So 180 is multiplication on the right, which will make it division on the left. So essentially, you have cos b equals 132 over 180. Now, because this is an angle question, lads, it has to end using an inverse function. Because I'm using cos this time, I need to use cos inverse. Shift cos inverse 132 divided by 180, and then we're going to see what it is. It's an angle of 42.83 degrees, which would be closest to, yeah, just call it 42.83. Just ask me for the angle, and we're done. Okay. Now, obviously, I know I'm doing, I know the layout of the test, so that would have taken me 27 minutes. So I'd imagine it could take you guys in the high 40s, and then a bit of time to look over it. Okay.